Very warm welcome to the program, The Mid-Morning Pack, right here on MBCI TV. Thank you so much for making time to be with us on today's edition of The Mid-Morning Pack. And today we want to look at matters education, focus on the state of education in our country. My dear viewers, since the country or since the government flipped the education system from 844 to CBC, quite a lot has changed, and we have a divided country. There are those who are in support of the CBC model, there are those who are against it, and both camps are giving their reasons for why they are supporting or why they are opposing this particular model. Is it the right model for the nation? Is it the right model for this particular generation? That is the subject that we're going to start with. Later on, we'll look at tertiary institutions and labor markets. When we talk about tertiary institutions and labor markets, are we producing graduates that are ready to be incorporated into the market today? And are they important? Are they serving the purposes for which they have been taught in school? And as we conclude the show, we look at the dynamics of modern parenting. Thank you so much. Karibu sana. My name is Mangicho Mola, and I'm being joined today by a very great panel of two ladies that are going to help us look at this particular subject in details. Having Madam Pasiki Humba, who is a gender specialist and also the principal, Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies. Karibu sana, and thank you so much for joining us today on this particular show.
Thank you so much, Magicho. I'm honored to be here.
Karibu sana, always a pleasure. And we are looking forward to you giving us some clarities as far as these particular subjects are concerned. Also on the panel is Professor Gladys Kitioni, who is the director of Sun and Shield School and also a lecturer in Kabarak University in the Department of Counseling Psychology. Karibu sana, Professor. It's a pleasure to have you today.
Thank you. It's an honor.
Yes. Karibuni sana. Remember, audio viewer, you can also interact with us during this particular discussion, during the entire conversation, by giving us your views and also your opinions in this particular discussion. You can give us your views on 23814. That is our SMS short form, and you can also catch us live. You can also catch us live on our social media pages, that is Facebook, MBCI TV, and also on YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. And of course, as we continue with our conversation, we'll be glad to sample some of your opinions or some of your perspectives as far as this particular discussion is concerned. And the question that we are asking you today is about the standards of education. What do you think needs to be done to improve the standards of education in our country? That is the question that we are asking you. What are some of the things, or what are some of the measures that you think need to be done or to be put into place to improve the standards of education in our country? Give us your opinions, give us your views, and we promise to sample some of them as we continue with this discussion. Karibuni sana tena, our great ladies, in this particular discussion today. Let me just start with you, Madam Pasiki Humba. When you're talking about CBC, and this is something that has of recent and actually even of late brought a lot of, or elicited mixed reactions among Kenyans. Maybe just to start with, how important is a system of education in connection with the posterity of a country or even a society?
Well, education is very important because education is supposed to help a country in various ways. Here would be looking at the benefits of an education system or an education to a country, and it has, number one, economic benefit, because education is the one that is supposed to provide the skill sets that are going to that are going to drive the economy of the country. We also have the social aspect of it. Education is important socially in many ways, as we may discuss later. And then also there is that element of education for individual, for this individual, individually. There's a way in which education helps in individual growth in all those areas, economically, socially, and psychologically. So education is very important.
Perfectly put. And Prof, how do you disabuse the notion that has been actually maybe into so many people that education is just for the matter of education or just for the sake of it?
One aspect about education, as my sister has said, the social bit, that education brings people together from all over the world and from that country or even that county. So that in itself makes me to appreciate other people and other people's cultures. So when she talks about the economic part, that one is something we cannot dispute. You look at countries that have really advanced. As they advance in technology, their education is also advancing. So they go together. So if a country has very low levels of education, everything else, there will be no innovation and there will be no cohesion even, because everybody is doing their thing and in their corner, which will not bring unity to the country and take them to the next level.
Wow.
So education is very important.
Education is key.
Yes.
Looking at CBC, Madam Pasi, because we initially had 844. Most of us, I believe, even in this room, are actually products of 844. What were the highs and the lows of this particular model?
The 844. I went through the 844, and I am the way I really appreciate the system. From its inception up to the time I left school, it was a great system before we started thinking more of exams. I remember those days, Magicho, when you were in 844, there was the element of creativity that was being instilled in us. I remember doing beadwork using beans and maize. I remember doing that skirt using the banana leaves. I remember by the time I was in class 7, I was supposed to have done a feeding trough. I remember doing a fridge mat. So it was giving us this. I remember even us doing a hat, a traditional hat, as a project in class 8. So it was helping us to have the skills. Other than that, the knowledge, the competences, we were being given the competences and even the ability to solve problems. Magichu, I remember, if I did not have a rubber in class, I didn't need to bother my parent about a rubber. Kuna hiyo slippers ninakata na ninafuta nayo kitabu. Today, mwanafunzi hana rubber, anaanza kulia ama anaanza kupiga. Kama sina penseli, I didn't need to cry or not write. I only needed Magichu who had a pencil. Unanipatia hako, nika granite or graphite. Na mimi ninatafuta kijiti, I solve my problems. And I write. So it was a good system of education.
It was a good system.
Until you know, it reached a point that it became too dilute. It was more of exams, and I think that is where we lost it.
But Prof, listening to Madam Pasi, because so many people are blaming 844 for how the situation is in the country today, maybe in terms of the people that you are having in the workforce, in the labor market, and so on and so forth.
I'm a product of the old system of O-level and A-level, the last crop. And when I became a teacher, I came into 844. I taught the first 844 learners, and I saw what she's describing. And I, as a teacher, was even able to benefit a lot from the home science department. I think I learned a lot of cookery from the teacher who was there. I still remember Liz Kinyoda taught me how to bake, and I would sneak in there when she's teaching students, and I would learn even how to do laundry. And we used to buy stools and coffee tables from the workshop. The students would make stools and coffee tables, and it was a perfect job. Woodwork, we had metalwork and agriculture. All those things I remember very well. They were there. And now we only have agriculture, but the students, you know, it's an option now. Very few students are doing agriculture. Very few students are doing home science. I don't know which school does metalwork. I don't know which school does those other subjects that were there, as she says, and even just the practicality of everything. But as the years went by, we now became who is going to be number one, who is going to be what, and we changed from, actually it was a parental issue. And you see even this one now, still the parents crying. That time the parents said, there is too much work. And so the government decided, well, let's remove this, until we remained with pen and paper and memorization.
So in its inception, or the way maybe it was brought to the country, it has some very good objectives. Very good goals.
Yes.
That those who would have actually undergone through this particular system, they would actually maybe be very, very responsible and even very productive.
And innovative. Yeah, and self-employed, many of them. That was the way it was, and I saw it, and she saw it. We practiced it. So it came to a point where we are just now going to class, textbook, pen, and chalk, and we say, good morning, class, take notes. And then we give them exam. The same things they took notes in. So where is the skill? We don't teach people to the skill of note taking and dictation is not going to take the nation anywhere.
And does therefore that mean that, Madam Mpasi, that because now the elephant in the room is the question of CBC, and we want to look at the heart and the soul of it. So are we bringing 844 back? Are we trying to resuscitate it? Maybe using now this other model, the CBC, because we're also talking maybe about helping the pupil, helping the child to be able to develop the skills, the passions, the talents, and so on?
I see a resuscitation of it, because when you talk about CBC, they are just bringing up the competence-based. When you look at the projects that we, the parents, are complaining about, these are projects that we used to do in the 844. And our parents were not complaining, And then the students were the ones who were doing this project. So this is a resuscitation. And I think, as Prof is saying here, I think the problem is maybe the parents who are not understanding it, maybe because of their lack of involvement, or maybe the changes we have had, like those days our parents maybe were at home, jobs were relatively flexible, but our life today is so fast, even that time is not there. But for me, 844 is, CBC is just bringing in what was. Yes.
And talking about parents, by the way, Prof, we've got so many of them who've been complaining about the CBC. They're looking at aspects of they're talking about the cost. They're talking about their involvement in as far as this particular model is concerned. Where do you draw the parallels when you talk about CBC and 844?
This CBC, as she has said, the parents were just, it's like you're being thrown into the deep end of a swimming pool without being taught how to swim. So the parents were just told, now, print, now, buy, now, bring. Even sometimes because the teacher is not very organized, you are told overnight, tomorrow, let your child come with gumboots, It is not that the parents really wanted to complain. It's not that the parents don't want to embrace this thing. They were not involved, as she says. And truly speaking, if us in the system as teachers, as directors, we were really looking for information. What is this CBC? How do we go about it? How do we understand it? And we had to really look, because they would just say, send 2 teachers, preschool teachers, to come for training. Now, 2 teachers who are in preschool, and they will say we have been trained. Now, what about the parent? The parent has no idea. The other day we had parents meeting of the grade 6 who are doing exam this year. And as we explained to them what 844, they said, you should have called us earlier. Yeah, we wouldn't have been complaining. They really appreciated. They really appreciated.
It caught them by surprise.
Yes.
That is one of the weaknesses, maybe, Madam Mpasi, that when this particular model was being rolled out, there was insufficient information to the public on maybe what it meant. And this maybe has led to what maybe you are seeing right now, the push and forth.
Various researches that have been done and surveys, they have shown that parents were not involved. And these parents are not being involved, and yet most of the parents we are going to find now in the CBC, There are people who got through the diluted system, 844. So they needed to be instilled the skills and the know-how and the importance of the CBC. You see? For me, I'm very comfortable. If they are told to do beadwork, I know this is something that we used to do. Now there is that young parent, the 23-year-old, the young parents who did not go through the system. So they find it so tasking. They do not even see the importance why we need to do this in the first case, and then also the issue of like they passed through is all about the exams. You know the notion that we have nowadays. You only need to get that grade, and you're good grade, and you're done. But about the competences, they have not been well informed. The importance of these competences to their children, to their country, and also to, you know, in overall the importance of the competences.
And talking about the exam before I come back to Prof, because as you've said, at what particular point did we as a society, did we as a country pay a lot of attention to the issue of exams as opposed to maybe to the general or the wholesomeness of education maybe to an individual? Because that has also been to blame, whereby we've seen universities complain. Later on, I know we'll be talking about tertiary institutions and also labor markets. But that is a complaint that has been there for long, that how comes these people did very well in primary, did very well in secondary, but later on in their tertiary, their diploma or even degree levels, they would not really show what is it that they did at the lower primary. Yeah,
because of this focus on us passing and the grade, we compromised the education system. Magicho, I know you are well aware, it reached a point where those exams could be sold. There was no integrity at all. My chairman, the late Professor Achanga, kept on saying that these people need to be just hanged. You cannot compromise education in such a manner because you are compromising the whole country. Yeah, the whole country. So that point at which we decided that it's about rating the best candidate, the best school, forget about what they learned is about. That competition, I think it brought, it compromised education until a point in the, I think 2018 or something, when now we came back to salvage, so that now we have minimal stealing of the national exam. So I think that is the point. The moment we decided it's all about paper, it's all about the grade, the best performing, I think that is where we lost it.
Wow, interesting there. And Prof, so when you look at CBC, how therefore does it cure the issue of exams?
The competition.
Yes.
The competition that my sister is talking about is deadly. When you are going to be rated as number 300, you know you are gone. And you as a principal of that school, you are not worthy anything. So you have got to work hard, and they used all sorts of means to make sure they are in number one, not necessarily giving the children or the learners a good step to go to the next level, a good grounding. It is now about me as a principal. How am I going to be rated by the Minister of Education? When the minister would stand there, when Professor Magoha stands there, we are all shaking. Which number are we? The next day we are in the newspaper. Which school was number one? Now we all want to go to Kapsabet. Now the Kapsabet High School principal is a celebrity, and we are not saying they stole exam or anything, but that is the feeling that I want it to come to me, so I will use anything to do that. But in the CBC, we are not even supposed to rate kids. We are not supposed to say you are number one. It is basically you are good in dance, you are good in drawing, you are good in mathematics, and we clap for you. We clap for, actually we clap for everyone, because everyone has something to bring on board. And there will be no school that will be rated as number one. There will be no minister standing to tell us the rest of you are dumb. You see. So a CBC is going to cure a lot of that integrity issue. And even in CBC, one of the values is integrity.
Wow.
So
integrity is critical as far as
very
CBC.
critical. It is taught in the curriculum and practice.
And that is that brings to the focus about a situation whereby maybe you find that maybe there are those parents who are complaining that maybe there are those materials, there are the resources that maybe the children need for this particular model, but then they don't have. What is, or maybe how should this particular situation be looked at when you talk about implementing this particular model in connection maybe with the amount of resources that is required to ensure its success?
The implementer on the ground of this competency-based curriculum basically needs to look at what they can afford and what is available, and to be reasonable. Because when they are asking parents to go and do some printing or bring some photos, post in WhatsApp, they first of all need to check, do the parents have it? So definitely, depending on your environment, we are going to have some variations. In terms of if I am working in Kisumu, for example, and we are supposed to be cooking something, I will not ask for goats. I should ask for fish, something small, But the teachers, I think, also had their own other motives. Some of the teachers did not understand, and so they went on to really make life very expensive for the parent and not giving them enough notice. But when you deal with a parent, you give them enough notice and you tell them this is how the syllabus is and we will need a candle at this point, they will be happy to provide.
How much, Madam Pasi, do you think the teachers need to know? How much preparation maybe was done? How much were they acquainted with this particular model? Because as Prof maybe puts it, could that maybe have been the missing link as far as maybe the challenges we are seeing in this particular model is concerned?
That was I think is the most serious gap that we have. That those people who are supposed to be implementing that curriculum did not have sufficient training. So you ask them for how long have you been trained? 1 day, 2 days. I was trained for 1 day, Magichu. I was training a teacher trainer, and I was trained for only 1 day.
1 day.
So training teachers 1 day for something that they are supposed to be training, that is insufficient training. And then you will also check out that not all of them were trained. So you are training one person to go and train. So it is whatever I have understood, I go and train. That was a very serious gap. And that is why now the teachers also do not know how maybe we have all these problems in whatever they are supposed to be asking for. But again, even if they were taught through CBC, there is something teacher education teaches. Whether the teacher must be creative enough to use locally available resources. So when we are asking of many things that are not locally available, I think that we are going overboard. And perhaps the teacher's understanding, but that is the training, the teacher training. Use locally available.
And as it is the model, as you look at it, because I know you are familiar with it, that which you're talking about, you believe that it is possible to have it, that which maybe is required to implement that particular system.
They are much easily available, Magichu. We are saying this is just about 844. So the teacher needs to be reasonable, and as Professor has said, it will depend on also the environment, the where. There are schools set up that we can ask for that, perhaps printing. Because even the school itself, it has provided that, Now there's that school that hiyo stima hakuna. When you look at the economic ability of the parent, is also low. So we only need to be a little bit reasonable in what we are asking for. Yes.
Because, Prof, as Madam Pasi puts it, the question and the fear of disparity as far as maybe children or maybe pupils from this different environment that she's talking about is concerned, and we believe that education is supposed to be equal, or is supposed to ensure that there is equality for each and everyone. Do you think that this particular model serves equality?
Especially when we talk about ICT,
okay.
the government, the way they have provided us with classrooms, you see now they've built classrooms in every high school for CBC. They should also bring the digital part of it. Really, the government needs to bring that, and if every school can access the laptops and internet, because this system is highly digital. The other things, making balls and making whatevers and stewing things and frying things can be done locally. But when it comes to the ICT bit, the government must step up. Otherwise, the disparity will be there. That all the time I've been in school, I never touched a laptop. But the other school, they use it every day. So that disparity, when they go to the university, they will not be in the same, on the same mind. So we need the government to bridge this gap of disparity. And we need the government to reach out to every teacher, because the teacher must be converted. Many teachers are not converted. Many teachers are looking at this thing as an animal that has come to make them uncomfortable, as she has said. So if the teachers can buy in, and if the government can actually seriously say, we are going to the next level, we are a 21st century economy, we are going to succeed, and there should be no school that is disadvantaged. And nobody should say there is no internet. We were able to do elections in every part of this country using those kits.
Yes.
And they were internet enabled. When it comes to our children, they should then, because this is our main core really.
Right.
Education is main core for every economy. We should be able to bring the funds and make our classrooms now not just look classroom. It is learner-centered, bring us the knowledge and bring us the abilities. And we are going to do very well and convert that teacher. You see, when the teacher feels that I have a leeway to just do what I want, and it's like we will post it on social media. I saw one that broke my heart, of a teacher who told the children to swim on land. That one was horrible. And the children swam, you know, they were swimming on soil.
Because there was lack of swimming pool.
Yeah, and the teacher was saying, we don't have a swimming pool. I think that was malicious. So it makes CBC look very bad. Yeah, but she should have said, let's do the theory part. One day we will visit a swimming pool and I will show you the bit of it.
Exactly. So they need to be a little bit flexible and a little bit creative in terms of finding the solutions. But then it therefore means, Madam Pasi, that because as we had earlier begun by saying that the issue of 844 failing was more, or to a bigger percentage, the aspect of implementation, the aspect of management, and even maybe the aspect maybe of finances, or the way maybe it was being financed. And right now we know that there is a task force that is actually looking and getting feedback from the society as far as this particular CBC is concerned. So what do you think this particular task force will be putting into focus?
Now, from the task that they were given, they were to check on how to alleviate the parents' burden. So I'm also very interested in finding out, in wanting to see what is this that they are going to look into insofar as alleviating the burden is concerned. I do not have anything in mind that they would particularly look at, but maybe that parent involvement. But my prayer, you know, we have invested so much in the CBC, and from where I stand, it is the right direction that we need to take. The right direction we need to take. My only prayer is that they alleviate that burden, but the competences, this that we want to instill in the learners, they take care of it. Yes, we do. It does not become emotive. It is not politicized, but we have the country in mind. we have the learner in mind, because Magichu, it is so depressing when students will stand on the streets, as we were seeing yesterday, holding papers saying that they do not have a job. And my feeling was like, is it because that this person does not have a competence? I'm an electrical engineer. If I have the skills, there's something I can do. But
MBCI Television, transforming lives.
Kaka yangu
coming to do, to tell them that you don't have to be employed, you can be a job creator.
Wow.
So I would really pray that vision is not lost, that as the team handles this, they do it with all the sobriety. They do it with all the sobriety.
I want us to take a short break at this particular point. Prof, when we come back, we'll touch on one more point before we go to the question of tertiary institutions and labor markets. Remember, you're still watching the Mid-Morning Pack right here on your favorite channel, MBCI TV. We are discussing matters on education. And remember, you still continue to join us on Facebook page and also on YouTube page by clicking MBCI TV. Let us take that short break right now, and we are coming back with plenty more. Welcome back to the program, The Mid-Morning Pack. You are watching MBCI TV. It's a pleasure to continue having you on this particular show. Today we are looking at matters education, the fate of CBC. What are we expecting from the task force that was established by President William Ruto? And in a short while, we'll be looking at tertiary institutions and labor markets, and also look for dynamics of modern parenting later on in this particular show. And remember, you can continue joining us by giving us your feedback. Our SMS platform is 23814, 23814. And you can also catch us live on our social media pages, that is Facebook, MBCI TV, and also YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. And in a short while, we'll begin to sample some of your feedback as far as our conversation is concerned this morning. Just before the break, Prof, there is something that Madam Pasi had actually talked about, and that is very interesting, because even as we continue, definitely most people will want to find out now, therefore, how is this particular CBC going to be implemented? How are we going to ensure? There is the fear. There are those who are already fearful that maybe this task force would recommend some changes. There are those maybe who think that this particular task force should actually just take the opinions, but the way the model is, it should not be interfered with. You've interacted with this particular system, Prof. You've seen how maybe the pupils have benefited. Of course, you've already also experienced some of the challenges. What are you looking forward to?
I'm looking forward to a task force that will be positive. A task force that is not coming to say we want to get rid of this. Because our children are now in grade 6. They have been taught in the learner-centered method. And if you change suddenly and tell them now that we are going back to teacher-centered, those children will definitely be disoriented. That is my number one prayer. My number two prayer is that they will tell the government, this was your idea. Please, it is like a patient in hospital that needs drip and that needs some very good antibiotics, and the patient will arise and walk. That is all I'm praying for. Because CBC, if you look at the competencies that we are doing in CBC, teaching children to think critically. Why would we put an X on something like that? To collaborate and work as a team so that their innovations can be better. How can we put a wrong on that? And the other values that we have, the value of integrity. Kenya is known to be one of those countries that integrity is something we can debate on. And it shouldn't really be there, but we are teaching these little ones that you can be, you can be people of integrity. And also the economic part. You find grade 3s have made some beadwork and they invite us to buy. And we are teaching them that you can make money from your creativities. If somebody puts an X on that, it will just be like a very sad day for me. Yeah, and then just doing the right thing. The government should just do the right thing. Get to the parent, inform them what these competencies are and the advantages. Get to the schools, equip the schools, and not smile with the teacher, because some teachers are jokers. No giving us an option on whether CBC should be on or not. They should be able to be trained, and they should be able to be told not to go tell kids to swim on land, you know, or eat all the chicken in the village. We just need to style up and take care of this patient, because right now it's a patient.
And Prof, what therefore is the status of those who are going now to join it's called the junior secondary? They're supposed to join
next year
in January.
Yeah, January we are in junior secondary, and it depends on the attitude of your teacher. A child or a learner is as good as its teacher. So if the teacher had a negative attitude, we don't expect that child to embrace or to benefit a lot. But it's not too late for the government to come in and help us. Wow. And for those schools where they have they are very digital and they are embracing everything CBC. they are going to be just moving on with very good communication skills, very good critical thinking skills, and all the other skills that are needed. And they will just be sharpened. And if we are not careful now, that is where the disparity will come in as they go to the university. Which school did you come from? Yeah. If your school was good, then you will be good and you will take the slots and you will get the jobs. But if your school was on land swimming, it's going to be a different game
it's
for
going
that
to be
child.
a different game plan. Wow, quite interesting there, Professor Gladys. Let me just read a few comments here before I come now to Madam Pasi on the subject of tertiary institutions versus labor markets. I can see quite a number of people following today. Sarah Kamau saying tuned. We have Maina Kibogoyo saying pamoja sana kwa show from Webuye Town. Thank you so much. We have Ton Imbalile. Good morning. Thank you so much. And then we also have Naomi Njambe. Thank you, Madam Pasi, for the good work. Watching from Uganda. Kijana Kanyongoro, good program to educators on matters education. Thank you so much also for tuning in. We also have Emily Mwangi. Wow, this is great. Following from Embu. John Gitau, listening keenly from Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies. Thank you so much, Bwana John Gitau. We also have Kimoni De Wairagu. Saying the ladies have been my mentors for long. Thanks for hosting them and watching from Molo. Thank you so much. Also have Mercy Konde Frank following from Narok County. You can still continue giving us your feedback, your perspectives, and also your views as far as this particular discussion is concerned. 23814. The question we are asking you today: what do you think needs to be done to improve education standards in this particular country? What do you think needs to be done to improve education standards in this country? Drop your comment on Facebook page, that is MBCI TV, YouTube, MBCI TV official. Later on, we'll sample quite more. Madam Pasi, of course, university graduates on long-term unemployment in Kenya is something that has now become a thorn in the flesh. And looking at tertiary, the question of, or the subject of tertiary institutions and labor markets, where do you think the disconnect is?
The disconnect is from the basis, where we said, like, we started teaching rote knowledge, memorizing, and therefore we neglected the skill bit. So that I'm in the university for 4 years, I am doing, for example, automotive engineering, and for all that time, I'm not in touch with any practical area in that. So when we release these graduates in the market, even when they get that opportunity to go to work, they have done the interview and they have gone, you still find the employers lamenting that very good papers, but they do not have the skills, they do not have the competencies. So that is where we have failed for a long time. And that is why when we talk about the CBC, we shouldn't even brush it off. Because now, even when you look at tertiary institution, and with a focus to technical and vocational colleges, because this is where I come from, CBC is, we are seeing it a continuation now to the technical colleges, where we are now focusing on the competencies. And as Prof had already said, with the CBC, we are saying we do not have failures. We are also seeing it in the technical education now, so that it doesn't matter the grade that you get. You only need to have that passion. You only need to have that skill that has been nurtured by the CBC system, that is going to give you entry into a technical institute so that you perfect that skill area. And the moment we have the skill area now, at the job market, we are going to be sorted, because it's a cry within even the job market. Yesterday we were deliberating at the research team. We need to do a survey in the industry to look at what the industries need, the skill sets that they need, because this is what we need to be teaching. Because the moment we rely on old curriculums, for example, things are also moving very fast. Things are moving very fast. But the review also of the syllabus is lagging. So that today, we are still, our syllabus is still teaching us to do the roofing, the common roofing, but now we are talking about gypsum. So the skill set, tafuta watu wa kufanyia gypsum hii Nakuru, is going to be very hard. Yes, this is the this is the in thing. So we really need to have to match whatever the industry needs and whatever we are training. Otherwise, if we remain there, we shall continue training and producing persons that are not going to get any job opportunities.
Very, very good point there, Madam Pasi. And the Prof, as Madam Pasi puts it, when you look at the contrast of the equilibrium between the demand and the supply, as far as the graduates that we are churning out is concerned, is actually a ticking time bomb, because we are supplying too much, yet the demand is too little for the graduates that are coming out of our universities and our tertiary institutions. Do you think we are actually sitting on a time bomb?
We are. I remember having a talk with one of the CEOs of one of the hospitals here in Nakuru, and her concern was, actually I went into her office after she came from an interview session with a potential nurse, and she was very disappointed that the nurse could not communicate, and I think they really wanted this particular person to fill that gap for some reason, and she was asking her the easy questions. She said, I asked her the easy questions. I instructed my panelists to ask her the easy questions. She didn't answer. She's been in MTC for 3 years, and she was not able to answer the very basic questions. So it goes back to, how are we training these people? And it's not just in education, in the universities, but even in our medical training colleges. So she did not get a job, and this lady was very sad. And I was sitting there asking her, actually I wanted to ask her about her experience with the students that she's getting from the colleges, and that was her story. And it is the same story all over, that the jobs are there, but the people who are running these businesses are looking for a particular kind of person. And they have even tightened their interviews and made them to be very thorough. And so people only make it to the first one. The majority, you can find in a place like Centum, you find like 600 people making applications. They end up with 6 people. Those must be the very best. And sometimes, if you were to check those very best, which universities they went to, it is a particular university where skills are emphasized and there is no job.
So looking at the weight of this particular subject, Madam Pasi, looking at how crucial it is, looking at how critical it is. Of course, we were talking about CBC earlier on. So are we also looking at overhauling the system at our tertiary and university?
We are not going to overhaul. Because you see, the moment the government decided to give focus in technical and vocational training, what is being instilled there is the skills. And I told you that is where I come, and I'm talking there authoritatively. It is basically CBC. Communication as a competence, critical thinking skills. You've heard Madam Prof talking about it. Problem-solving skills. So when the shift to the technical, ilileta CBC, and that is now where we are going. Now, perhaps the shift would be more in the university education. I think that is where now we are aiming more. But we are also seeing the shift also. Most of the universities now, they also have the technical and vocational section to bridge the gap, because as you're saying, it's a ticking time bomb, and we cannot afford to ignore that. If we ignore, then we are taking this country in the wrong direction. Yeah, so the start to that shift of technical and vocation, and the emphasis, you can see the emphasis so much so that if the government has waivers, fee waivers, those that go to government school is almost doing it for free, because the government is giving them help.
Yeah.
But now also, I was also talking to somebody yesterday. I wanted to go for a benchmarking in a technical vocation, and there's a principal of the school, and he was, no, I want to tell you, to lower your expectation. You know we are underfunded. You cannot benchmark with me. And I'm telling you, seriously, Mr. Principal, there's nothing I can learn from your institution. So that maybe even as we focus that, the government has to ensure that they are funding their facilities. But the good thing is, now we also have the private sector, which is also an option, that where we have the best facilities, we have the students that can go and learn there. With here now we are not talking about underfunding. It is NBD Sasaya, the proprietor, and I can for sure tell you they have been up to task. I have visited quite a number, and actually that principal told me, go and benchmark in this institution, which is a private one. And I can also tell you, you can also benchmark at where I come from, Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies, benchmark with us. So it's we have that shift.
Because later on I'll come back to you, Madam Pasi, because Prof, as Madam puts it, I know you've interacted because you're also a lecturer in the university, and so sometimes even putting yourself in the shoes of an employer, who is actually saying that, I would have wanted actually to employ this particular person, but I really don't see how is it that they are going to help me, how they're going to help my institution, how they're going to help my organization, or even my company for that particular case. What is it that we are giving out there? What are those programs that we are having in these universities, in these tertiary institutions? There has also been people complaining that there are some of these programs that are already outdated. What's your take on this?
There could be outdated programs, but not where I come from.
Yes.
Because every 5 years, we are expected by the Commission to update our curriculums and looking at the market. We are supposed to work very closely with the employers out there. So the thing we have done as a university in Kabarak is to make sure we have a directorate of excellence in learning and teaching, where every lecturer, you see, it's only in education where we are taught teaching methods. But you come to the university as a lecturer and you need the methods. Otherwise, you will use your methods of the 19th century, where you are teacher-centered. Now we are training our trainers to become learner-centered in their instruction, where they don't necessarily have to stand in front of the class, and that is CBC. You also teach the children, or the learners, sorry to call them children, you teach the learners to be creative. We use the Bloom's taxonomy, and we want to go to the parts of Bloom's taxonomy where we are innovative, we are creative, we come up with budgets. If we are in business school, we come up with some kind of medicine. If we are in pharmacy, etc. We must teach them to be creative and innovative. So we are moving from standing in front of the class to now allowing the learner to run the show.
So as a university, what you're saying is that, Prof, as a university, you review the programs.
We review the programs.
It's not just a matter of having a program just for the sake of it.
Yes.
Because there's also been some complaint that some of these universities, just for the sake of maybe making money, doing business, they have all these particular programs, some of which are not going to be.
We are very updated in the university. And we are also updating our teaching methods. We know our CBC learners are coming in 2027. So right now, people are having a lot of workshops to make sure the skills needed in CBC are right there in the curriculum. And we are just beginning to make everybody aware that you cannot take notes and get a job. You've just got to be that innovative person, that person who knows how to communicate, and the soft skills that go with it. You can't just be so rough and expect to survive in your place of work.
Yes.
Yeah.
Quite interesting there. Madam Pasi, you talked about some of the programs that are very important as far as ensuring, or at least giving someone who is actually graduating a higher percentage of actually getting into the job market and securing themselves opportunities. But as a country, therefore, do you think that we've come to the reality that maybe the era of white-collar jobs has already waned, and it's time that maybe we change how we looked at this particular issue?
I think that reality has now hit us home, that we need to be job creators. We cannot rely on only white-collar jobs, and that is why I've said the shift, the focus. And I can for sure tell you it has not been easy, and it is still not easy. There are people still today who feel like for me to be only educated, it has to be in the university. So that if I am doing a course in plumbing, for example, if I am doing a course in automotive engineering, I'm kind of a nobody. They still have that. And therefore, we still have a lot of work. To demystify the fact that it has to be that degree. We still have that job, even from low levels, to tell, from lower academic levels, to tell those learners that they can do things, they can learn, as my prof is saying, doing that beadwork and knowing that they can, my skill can help me earn a living. That I don't have to die when I have a skill. And I think that is the most important thing that we can do to our generation. And when we have impacted them in that skill, remember we started by asking ourselves why education is important. Now it is becoming important for me as an individual because I am being able to fend for myself and my family. And as I am doing that business, I'm creating job for others. There is that economic benefit for the country. The country is benefiting because of the skill sets. So I think it is a realization that has truly come home, and I think that is why even this shift to CBC is an indicator of that realization.
Of that particular realization.
Yes.
And because now we are requiring maybe, what does it take? Because maybe for those in the CBC, maybe they would look at it as an advantage because now this is starting when they are still young. But for this person maybe who had not gotten this particular maybe experience, this particular training, way back in their high school, way back in their primary, but all of a sudden now maybe at the tertiary, maybe at the university level, it's all about skills, it's all about what is it that you can really do. I mean, how do they cope with this?
How we handle this is very simple. There's something we call career guidance, and as you guide the learners, we want to understand, number one, their passions. Do I have a passion to be in a particular field? Then also, some of these skill sets, we have some God-given abilities that tend us towards a particular field. There are people who are very good in mathematics, so you would want them to be, for example, in engineering. There are people who are very good in hands-on, so we take them through that career guidance. We want to know the abilities that they have and what is simpler for them to be able to understand. And then there also the good thing about it, it starts from the most basic of levels, the artisan, as we build it progressively. So from the artisan, you learn the lowest of levels, certificate to diploma, and you can go all the way to professorship. To
professorship,
yes.
PhD.
Yeah.
That's very awesome. And the prof, because she's talked about career guidance, and unfortunately, we've also had a lot of parents, a lot of these students getting into tertiary institutions, getting into universities, but they don't know what is it that they want to do. They don't know what is it that they want to achieve, who they want to become later on in life. How do you deal with this kind of a scenario back there?
You see, many of our, let me talk about two cases that I have followed, Serena and the sister, these tennis players, Serena Williams and the sister.
Yeah.
The father started training them when they were 2 years old. There is Tiger Woods. The father started training him as soon as he started walking. And so they were able to identify their abilities when they were young. But for us, we tell a child, go to school, my daughter, work so hard, get a job. We don't tell them anything beyond there. And if you go to a school where career guidance is not, you see, like with 844, we really don't care about career. We care about your A. You will sort out yourself later in life. And then the parent will come in and say, you know, I wanted to be a doctor and I failed. You must be that doctor. So people go into careers that they never even thought of. We have COOPs that will just place you in a career you never even imagined you would land in a career like that, but because it is an opportunity in the university, you don't even ask, will there be a job? You just go. You know, it's good to be a university student. It makes your parent proud. So there are very many ways, the way now with CBC wants to correct that issue of identifying talents too late, and many talents are even lost. Now in the primary school, that's why we are saying there is no number one. We are all number ones. If I am able to dance very well, that is something that I could do. I'm able to sing very well. I'm able to draw very well. I'm able to think very fast in some ways. And we recognize those talents as young as they are. And we are hoping the secondary schools will actually nurture talent, because CBC is about nurturing talents. And as we go to 2030, we should be able to see something different in the workforce.
Because the other issue that has also been of major concern, Madam Percy, is the pressure. And I don't know how much as a society have we now begun to embrace that maybe all courses, all professions are important, because the notion has been that there are professions that are more equal than others, and therefore some parents will have to pressure their children that it's either you go and do this particular course or find your own ways.
Yeah, the pressure is there because the parents sometimes, I think we need to do a lot of educating them about the importance. For me, most of the problem I see is with the parents. The students that you interact with, I have this passion, this is what I would want to do, but my mother, my father wants me to be in this career. And what we have done, I'm involved so many times in career talks. And we also want to attend career forums where the parents are, in parents' meeting, to be able to sensitize them that we cannot all be doctors, that all careers are important. And you give them something simple. You know, like in this, for example, town, look for a plumber. Utamtafuta sana. And some of these people, by the way, these fundis, they earn more than people who are, they do earn more. So this is something, and that's why this demystification needs to be done, and at least through career forums, which anytime we attend, and we have parents, including organizing events in churches, we do that, because we need to walk this journey with both the parents and the learners, because after all is said and done, the parent is the fee payer, but the person who is doing this course is the student.
Right.
We place them in a course that they do not enjoy, they have no passion for, simply because the parent has demanded. We have seen instances ambapo mwanafunzi alisoma na akasema haya basi mama nimemaliza, hii ilikuwa ni yako, sasa nipatie yangu. So we can avoid all this by holding, including the parents, the parents' hands. And you know, parents are major stakeholders. Any decision that we do concerning education and the children, I think we cannot afford to leave parents behind.
And what in your own view needs to be done, Prof, to ensure therefore that as a country we change the mentality, our attitudes, as far as maybe all these courses are concerned, and maybe what needs to be done so that we do not have that particular strife that it's either this particular cause or maybe I'm not going to be in support of you. Maybe people looking, and therefore maybe even some have been forced maybe to do something that they were not able to do, or just end up failing because that was not in their line.
I always wish there was a school for parenting, because as she's saying, parents, you cannot do anything with a child without involving the parents. If it is choosing a school or choosing a career, you must involve the parent. And many times the parent is in that mode, you know, that mode of yesterday, where according to them, if you become a musician, you are lost. You see, if you become, there are just some careers that they think this is not prestigious enough. And yet, that is what I want, and that's where the money is. Even the one of culinary arts, I may go and cook, and somebody else looks and say, you've just become a cook.
Yes.
You see? But that is where the money is. Even the food she's talking about, that's where the money is. And that is where the self-reliance can come through. So we need to look at these courses that can help me to be self-reliant at the end of it all. That to me is really important. That which course am I going to do? Will I be able to have my own business at the end of it all? Will I be able to make something, as she's explaining, for me without being the employer? Is it possible? So, yeah, there are courses and courses. And there should be a way of doing something that will give you money. Really, at the end of it all, we want to be able to meet our needs.
That's great. So back there at college, Madam Pasi, when the students are enrolling, you make them to understand that once you're done with this particular course, maybe be it in diploma, of course you can further, but it's not just a matter of graduating and beginning to knock doors of companies and organizations looking for employment, but these are students that are being churned out and they are ready. Maybe even to start or maybe to do entrepreneurship?
Now, we have a very intensive program anytime we have students. We talk to them about career and career mentorship. We want to know their abilities. We allow them to get in the departments, all departments. Ulikuja kufanya engineering, but there is also the department of hospitality. We let them go there. Example, kwa sababu wengine walisema I want to do engineering because wanasikiaga engineering. Lakini akifika pale hesabu wanapata hesabu huko, mimi na hesabu haziingiani kabisa.
Yes.
So that before they get into that class, they have been able to sample all other departments and what is done and the career opportunities that are there. Yeah. Another thing that we do, we give them a window. Ukiingia kufanya course ya engineering, ufike in 2 weeks uone huko hakuna kitu yenye unashika kabisa. You come back to us, the registry, the career guidance, we guide you now so that you don't struggle in a course that you are not going to make it, that is going to be so tiring and frustrating. Okay. So we give them that window so that whatever they do is something that is manageable to them, is something that they have passion for. And another thing is we try as much as possible to hook them into the industry through that attachment. And not other than attachment, we have career mentorship. Like on November 11, we have invited persons from all the industries in departments that we run to just give mentorship. Okay. And others we take just to the field. On a whole day we request, let them come to this media house and get that exposure, that this is how it's going to be when you have chosen this field.
Yeah. And therefore, Prof, as we wrap up on this particular subject, where is the role of the government as far as this is concerned? And the Kenya Kwanza government is very optimistic in terms of ensuring that as many youths as possible are actually absorbed in the job industry. So when you look back there in the university, in the colleges, these graduates will actually be going outside there. So as we wait them to come out here, what do you think the governments need to put into place to ensure their success in terms of actually earning a living?
I remember the former government promised, I can't remember the thousands of jobs they were going to create. I don't know whether that happened, but the government that we just came out from. And I don't remember with this government, maybe I wasn't listening very well, what they are going to do about this unemployment. Okay. We know they've said it is a bottom-up and we are going to be helped, we are going to be given funds. But with the universities and the colleges, for me, sometimes you go into, as she says, her colleague told her, you can't come, I am underfunded. We need to be able to get these, our universities and our schools funded so that they can be able to innovate, and when they innovate, they are able to employ, you see. But when they are not able to innovate themselves, you give them an orange and they can turn it into orange juice and sell it, then we are not going to make many jobs, because we can't leave everything to the government. These individuals can do so much. The government just needs to make a good environment, and the banks, if they could give us better rates for our loans, then we are going to not just feel helpless, but be able to start something, and as you start something, it will grow. So we pray for peace in our country. That is very important, and we pray for a government that is really sensitive to the needs of employment, and we hope for the best.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very important there. We now want to shift to our last subject of discussion. Remember, you're still watching the Mid-Morning Park right here on MBCI TV, and you are catching us live on our Facebook page, that is MBCI TV, and the YouTube, that is MBCI TV Official. A very candid and robust conversation here with the two great ladies, Madam Mpasi Kihumba, Principal, Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies, and also gender specialist, and also Professor Gladys Kitioni, who is Director, Sun and Shield School, and also a lecturer at Kabarak University. Continue dropping your comment on 2314 and also on our social media pages. Dynamics of modern parenting, because also parenting, I know we've touched one or two areas of it, but this is also very important. What are some of the shifting trends, Madam Mpasi, as far as we're talking about parenting? Do you have parenting as you look at it today, 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Now, parenting today, we have had a shift from what we used to have communal parenting, where we had the extended family, and the neighbor, and any passerby could parent you, could punish you. So we have become so individualized. And other than that, we have what we call now social media parenting. You know, we are doing
WhatsApp parenting.
Facebook and social media parenting.
Yes.
Simply because of absent, you know, like we're also having an element of, you know, no parenting kind of. We are too busy. We have so many things that are affecting parenting. Busy parents, for example, we are too busy. Absent parents, parents who are there, but we also do not know, do not know how to parent, or we are highly, we never have a stand on what we want, yeah, so that it is debatable on what I can, even my child and their behavior, it is debatable. So I think that is where we are today, and it's not so easy. It's also not so nice.
And these shifting trends, Prof, they are or they were inevitable. We had to get ourselves here, and how have they affected us?
My age, we were trained very strictly, as she says. And some of the punishments we were given, we did not appreciate. And so we don't want anything like that happening to my child. So if you do something to my child that I feel I carried that cross for them, you cannot do that to them, I will be very upset with you as a teacher or a neighbor or whoever. So it now narrows down to what were my experiences and what do I want for my children. Right. Very few parents subscribe to that old model of parenting where I give you the rights to discipline my child. Even in school, when we have the school rules, a parent has to sign that I'm agreeing to these rules, because they can take you to court because of one or two things you did to that child. So parenting has shifted, really shifted. And still these same parents, as she says, they are not available. They are very busy. I remember just this week, the head teacher was telling me she had to tell her parent, please hug the child. She was leaving, and the child is standing there and hasn't seen mommy for a long time. And she called, said, please come back and hug her.
Wow.
You see, so we are in another level where we don't seem to understand that this child who is growing up is my big responsibility. It's like you are, what do we call it, where you are ugali sosa. You are something on the side. It should be, the child should be in the middle of our parenting, and very reasonable parenting. So that is the shift that has happened.
And because we've gotten ourselves here, maybe, Madam Pasi, there are those parents who would argue or who would actually say that there is nothing that we can do about it. At the end of the day, of course, we are talking about them maybe being so busy. They have to be outside there. Some of them may be looking for the needs of these particular children. So is there a way in which this can be balanced? And even before that, therefore, if you're talking about parents being so busy like this, so what are some of what kind of children, therefore, are being brought up?
There's something that we can do, definitely. It's a choice that we made to have these children. And let me tell you, Magicho, is not sometimes our physical presence. We are there, but with the gadget. So if we are affording time with the gadget, if we are affording time with our friends, if we are affording time to go for those dinners, why not time with our children? It's simply like we have felt like is quite some baggage. We need to be deliberate. It's that we have not become deliberate. There is still some time that we can spare with our children. And the moment we do that, I think we'll have a whole lot of difference. Yes.
That is something that really needs to be put into consideration. Prof, looking at some of these parents, because Madam Pasi has actually raised a very important point that you'll still find some of these parents maybe being available for maybe other assignments, maybe even not really work related. But at what particular point would a parent really not really find even just a little time with the children? What's happening?
Parents, I would tell you that from the little I know about the children that I have been able to mentor, they feel lonely. And even when we are home, as she has said, my sister is here, maybe we are chatting, my mother is there, my priorities are to others. But to this child, and that's why I'm saying I wish we had parenting classes, so that we actually know that this child needs to be guided intentionally. I have to be very intentional on how I raise my children and how I make them feel that I am there for them. So many times they actually said in one of the talks I had with them that our parents give us a lot of things, but that's not what we want. We want their presence. And so parents must create time. Just create time from wherever and make the children know that you love them. Yeah.
That is something that they really need to put into consideration. So, Madam Pasi, because something that is very important, and most of even the people have actually been saying, is now when you talk about the entire or the wholesome development of a child, when they miss some of these maybe parental attention, what are some of these effects that you are going to see, even as this particular child? And maybe some of them may not even be realized when they are young, but when now maybe they've advanced in age, you now begin to remember that it is because of what maybe the parent failed to do when these children were still young.
Now, we have the specialist, Professor Gladys, here. You know, we have the side. There are some things when the children miss our presence and our parenting, it is buried somewhere in their subconscious. And they will retrieve it at one time. And sometimes when they are missing that presence, they look for a replacement. What is this replacement? It could be that bad friend. It could be this phone and the things that they are doing. You know, they are doing the most weird of things that you don't want to see, things that you do not want to listen to. And when we follow, it's simply because they were looking for something to replace, a replacement, something that they can, you know, that can massage whatever they are missing. So they miss in role modeling, they miss in somebody who is going to guide them, to lead them, to support them emotionally, to give them the social support. So we have left them so vulnerable. And the repercussions are, even the point at which our children started abusing drugs, we don't even know, because we have never seen, and we are now seeing it when they are too deep into it. So those are some of the repercussions. We do not even follow. Our children never go to school. We prepare them every other morning, but they never get to school. Or they are performing so badly. And that, of course, affects their later life. And so they will hear some of saying, if my parents were only there for me, I would perform better. I would not have got friends who led me into drugs. So our lack of presence and parenting and monitoring our children, it is costing their livelihoods, their lifetime, may I say so, yeah.
The lack of parental attention, Prof, will certainly be visible, even because some parents would actually just maybe even ignore this particular subject, or maybe ignore the magnitude of this particular matter, because maybe when they are still young, maybe they are not seeing the seriousness of it. But certainly, when they continue growing up, they are affected.
When a child is young, we have stages of development for a child. When they are born up to maybe 3 years, whatever happens to that child, if it's positive, they are going to grow up positive. If they bonded well with their parent, that bond continues. Okay. If the parent wasn't there, if there was maybe somebody caring for the child, and you've seen some very horrible things that have happened to children. The moment that happens, you know this is trauma. This has scars in this child. And they grow with their scars, and they will look for something to feel. Actually, many of the issues that our young people have, you go back to the early years. What happened to them? And so those early years, unfortunately, moms have to go to work. We've got to leave our children at 3 months, at 6 months, and we go to work. And sometimes we leave them in the wrong hands. And so things happen to them inside them that will be manifested when they are 15, that will be manifested when they are 22. And you wonder, where did I go wrong as a parent? So it's a lot of wisdom that God has to give to parents, and a lot of sacrifice. Yeah, there has to be some sacrifices that a parent has to make, and say, now I'm a parent, I can't keep going to every function. This is my main function. When the children come home for half term, where are you? When they come for the holidays, at least we are glad we are going back to normalcy next year. So we'll have a whole month at home, but will mom be there? Will dad be there? Will we have a good place, or a lot of shouting because mom is so stressed out? So there is so much, and that's why I'm saying we need more of these discussions, and we need parents to just look for ways, because now we are in a new dimension.
And Prof, when they are at 15, when they are 14, 16 years there, you begin to hear some of the parents complaining that mtoto amenishinda, now they are too much for me. Does it mean that they can reach a point of no return?
No, there is never. Love will always win them back. When you love your child back to God and back to yourself, and they actually see somebody cares for me, because many of these things it is like, after all, nobody cares. So let me go destroy me, and mental health issues begin to arise. And so we need to just be, we need to parent with more eyes, not just the 2 eyes, with more eyes, and on our knees, and really look to God, because there are things that God will show us. We will not be very surprised if we are asking God to take care of our children, and we are doing our part.
And do you think one of the eyes, Madam Percy, as Prof puts it, is the return of the king?
That's too brutal. Well, yes and no. The problem with the cane is there is a tendency to go out of hand in using it, and we don't want to expose our children towards that direction. Where a cane has been used, the hearts have been broken, but if it is done sparingly and with love, sometimes also we are using that cane and we have not given them the reason as to why we are punishing them. So yeah, anaona kama ni punishment is not a form of correction. It's not correction, it's more of punishment. So I think from experience, what we have seen, I wouldn't really want my child to be caned kwa sababu tumejua extreme. And we also know, when you are going to school, it was not funny. Yeah. Somebody makes noise and the teacher does not know who is this. And all the 42 of you are lying there and you are being beaten by teachers, the whole staff room.
Yes.
Unless now, I don't know how we can be able to moderate that so that it becomes sensible, because sometimes there is a way in which that is abused. And that is, even when you talk about children's rights, that is physical abuse. It may tend towards physical. It may tend towards physical abuse. And bearing in mind also the times we are living in, as a prof is saying, most of the parents, because of the hard life, we are more stressed. And najua mzazi mara mingi, huwa saa zingine I call my mom and tell her, now I understand why you kept on shouting. So we're also going to take it back to our yes. So
But Prof, the good book says you spare this particular road and you're spoiling this child.
Yeah, the road has not been taken away from a parent. A Christian parent has to use all kinds of rods. And there is that level where you must use the cane. Yes. It's not every mistake that you use the cane. But there is that rebellion that you have to deal with, maybe with a cane and even not with a cane, because when the government outlaws something, you don't want to be so much there. We need to look at other ways. And I always believe that when a child is being rebellious, they're asking for attention. There is a thorn somewhere that needs to be removed. So when you beat them, the thorn remains in there and the rebellion will continue. So it's better to do the X-ray and really check what is wrong with my child. Is it an emotional thing? Is it a psychological thing? Is it an attention-seeking device? Or what are they doing? And so sometimes we use the cane and the cane is just gone to waste. But in school, I'm so glad that the government has said, if you are going to cane kids, you are going to face the law. To me, I am so... Yes, I'm so glad. Because we've had children who've lost lives. Yeah. There was this teacher who was looking for a job and he didn't have a TSC number. And when we interrogated, why don't you have a TSC number? Hapo kando, he told me, I killed a child. I beat them to death. And so for me, literally, yeah, you don't do that to my child or any other person's child. Leave it to me, but also to parents. You should not discipline in anger.
And of course, Prof, you've interacted with those people. So for someone maybe who is doubting, you can talk with these people. So you can talk with these children.
Yes. As a psychologist, we do a lot of intervention and we do a lot of counseling, a lot of guidance. When the children know, by the way, children are very good people. That is a place where if we were to invest in and put the very best of teachers there, many times we don't give primary school the best of teachers. I wish we did that. Give the very best to the foundation. When the foundations are firm and good, we are going to have a very good crop. So the cane for me is like, if you as a mom, you want to beat a little, you are beating your own child, you know how far you can go. But there is that other person, they don't care. This is just one of the 1,000 kids in the school. I can beat them. And we've had very sad cases from schools. And who says beating changes behavior? Sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it does, depending also on what is in that child. So caning is a very debatable thing, but for me, let's look for other ways of training our children and making them feel. You don't feel loved when you are being beaten. You don't. Yeah.
Madam Pasi, you talked about, of course, I know we are in the era of technology. We cannot do away with some of these gadgets, but some of the research that has been done has shown that some of these gadgets are very harmful to these particular children. So what should therefore be done? Is it a matter of absolutely ensuring that the child cannot access some of these gadgets, talking about the phones and so on and so forth?
No, I think what needs to, we cannot refrain them in using it, because you also want them to grow being technologically savvy. And remember also we have talked about CBC, that is the direction that CBC is taking them. I think is a lot of guidance and monitoring what needs to be done, and I'm glad, like for example, our phones, there is a way in which we can be able to put in a mode that is child friendly, so that we are able to monitor whatever they are seeing at whatever time. And then we also need to guide them. That parenting is what is everything. Keeping on talking to them that not everything that we see is going to be consumable, for example, or what is true. Some of them is just fiction. Some of them is what social media today is doing, a lot of chasing of clout. It's not really true. So if we do not guide our children, and then they are seeing that, they would think that is what is real. And unfortunately, we are in a time where the social media has done a lot of harm than good in the children. It's so concerning, it's so worrying. We need to know how to make technology safe for our children, because the thing is, we cannot say don't use it. How can we make it safe? How can we create safe spaces even as they get into that internet for research, for example? Yeah. Okay,
Prof. From where you sit, how do we make some of these technologies safe? Because this is something that we have to live with. Of course, we know how important they are, but then just to ensure that the young ones are also not put into danger. What is it that needs to be done?
The seller or the manufacturer needs to give us a manual that we can understand very well on putting controls to make it child friendly, on putting controls to make sure my child cannot access pornography, how to block all those things, because the big thing there is porn. Our sons have gone into it, and whenever they come back from home, we have to do a lot of detox, because they were given the phones, and the phones are not controlled. So they are in WhatsApp groups, and their friends keep sharing links that take them to places. We leave them to go to the bedroom with the devices, and so there are very many visitors in the home, and you are not aware of. And so you find your child is changing by the day, and how things are happening, and you keep wondering, maybe it is the neighbor, and yet you spent a lot of money to buy that gadget. If you asked me, I would not give my child a gadget unless I'm sitting there with them and we are doing a program of some sort. We are watching something or that kind of thing. But now we are bringing up our babies. You put them in front of the TV and you give them this. They are watching that, they are watching this. Before long, they are addicted to the screen and they can't even think. They go to class. You are used to cartoons. Now this teacher is coming to stand there and say, let's do things. And it doesn't even look like a cartoon. Very boring, you know. So it's not really good if it is not guided well.
If it is not guided well.
This one has to be guided well, and parents just need to be aware that our children are watching pornography. Yeah, let them ask the teachers. Our children are watching porn.
Okay.
Yes.
Wow, what an eye-opener there. As we come to the conclusion, I want to give each of you a minute. You can just look at that particular camera, pick on either of those three topics and maybe give your parting shots: the issue of CBC, the issue of tertiary institutions and labor markets, the issue of dynamics of modern parenting. Let me just begin with you, Madam Pasi, in a minute.
I'm from a technical institute, and therefore I choose to go with that. To let the parents and the general public know that today no child is a failure, that we have the technical training institutes that are open. We only need the passion, we only need the skills, and when the students are going to join us, that is going to be their career path. And when we have done that from the lower levels, there is a career progression path. We can start from the artisan level, go to the certificate level, go to the diploma level, and go to the university to do in the technical university to upgrade on that skill area that we have chosen. So I would really want to advise us that we encourage the learners to pursue whatever is their passion. we encourage the learner to get that competence that they really love, and it is going to make a whole difference. To also encourage the parents, kindly let us not impose courses or dreams of careers to our learners. You are an individual parent, you are different, the child is different, let them pursue their career path. And if you are not very sure, kindly also follow up in the institution so that you can be given more information about these skill areas, so that our children are happy being in colleges. Otherwise, when we push them to do whatever they do not like, we will pay fees, and it is happening. We give them fees, but they are somewhere roaming. They never get into into school, and it is a very sad affair when you have parents feeling that pain because simply they did not give the learners or their children the opportunity to pursue their dream careers.
Thank you so much, Madam Pasiki Homba, Principal, Rift Valley Institute of Business Studies, and also a gender specialist. Professor Gladys Kiptioni, maybe in a minute, your parting shot also?
To tell parents to know their children and to do research. Now that we don't have any parenting class, let's do research. We have now the internet here with us. Let's learn how to deal with the children, know the needs of children, and be a friend to the school where your child goes to. Be a friend especially to the class teacher. Many parents, when we call them to come and we have an issue with their children, they say it is the school or the teacher, or you are just blaming my child for no reason. We don't know our children. And we are supposed to have that as the main core. Give them a good foundation, arm yourself with the skills of parenting, and know the 21st century child is a very different child. And so we've got to up our game.
Wow, thank you so much. Also, Professor Gladys Kiptioni, Director, Son and Shield School, Lecturer, Kabarak University. Thank you so much, ladies. It's been a pleasure having you. Great insights. Looking forward to more discussions with you in the future.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And that's why we bring it to an end for today on the program, The Mid-Morning Park. We also want to appreciate you, our dear viewer, for making time to be with us, your contribution, quite a number of SMSs and also comments on our Facebook and the YouTube page. We really appreciate. We believe now at least you are acquainted with knowledge as far as CBC is concerned, labor markets and tertiary institutions, and also the issue of modern or dynamics of modern parenting. On behalf of the entire team and crew that has made today's show a success, enjoy the rest of your viewing. My name is Mangicho Mola.